Well, here we are again, blade fans, and here we are again with a new knife. And the second knife, as far as I know, from up-and-coming new designer Paul Munko, who runs a shop called Colorful Filth. Love the name. Love the name. All filth should be colorful. Then my wife wouldn't be sweeping up the house of all the dust and so forth. Hey, good to see you all. Good to have you here. Hope you're interested in this knife because it appears as though when I threw up a few things out on Instagram, I didn't throw up, I'm sorry, I wasn't nauseous. When I tossed a few videos up on Instagram on this knife, they got a lot of response. So I thought I'd speed up the process of putting a YouTube video out. And so here we are. First, let me show you Paul's original knife. This is the Clairvoyant. I love this knife. This is a real beaut. And kind of a sheep's foot design with a kind of a big swale here, thumb studs. And it is a button lock. Long run of jimping there. It is strictly a thumb stud on this one. Titanium clip, beautiful, kind of a marbled carbon fiber. Hard to actually see it. It's unusual kind of carbon fiber on this one. We'll bring this one back for comparison in a moment, but what we're talking about today is the Mystic. Oh yes. It is a nicely kind of a polished stonewash, I'd have to call it, because it's got that sheen there, but underneath is a stonewash pattern. It is by Kizer. It has a titanium bolster and some very nice, call them green micarta scales, kind of that natural micarta. I would call it a natural micarta. You might even be able to dye it, but no promises there. It is a bolster lock, so it looks like a liner lock up to this point, but then does all of the functions of a frame lock up in this vicinity, including the hardened steel insert. Style of blade, we could call a harpoon, or a bowie, or a clip point, whatever you like. Interesting what they did with the pivot surrounds here. They used the micarta. Usually you'll see like brass or some other metal in there, but no, this is the micarta. That's got to be tough to machine it that exactly. There it is on the other side too. T8 in here, and could be T8s here. We'll see if I can remember to check before we leave. Well, you know, I will forget, so let me do it now. All right, so here is my T8 from Ouija, and that's a T8. Here is my T6 bit from Ouija. That fits the steel insert release, and it fits the handle. So yes, I guessed right. T6 on the body hardware. And by the way, with this knife, you get a nice little pouch of spare screws in both sizes, T8 and T6. So it looks like a complete replacement set, should you lose any. And they came pre-dipped, if you can see it, in blue Loctite or something like Loctite. Jimping, a little on the soft side, but definitely it's grabby. Nice swale for the thumb there if you want to stretch way out. Nice for your push cuts. A little bit of a go forward choil there. I think that's workable. I mean, if you want to pinch up here or use it this way, no problem. What else we got going? Well, the action, look at this. It's insane. And front flipper. But let's take a look at that action one more time. Not much of a hump, if any, here. I mean, barely feel anything, right? It breaks right there. But if you got your finger on the bar, oh, watch out. It's going to drop. It is insanely drop-shutty. I think I said that. Thumb studs, they are my favorite. I'm an old timer. Love thumb studs. They were the first mechanism to come out to assist open your knife. Even some of the lockbacks. Had some old Mel Pardue knives back in the, I'd say early 80s. And let's talk about, I don't know if it's an elephant in the room or not, but this was also designed as a front flipper. And here, you just don't get the traction. And, you know, one thing you got to do with a front flipper is balance the grippiness of the front flipper with the detent, the strength of the detent. This has got a pretty strong detent. It does beautifully break. I mean, because of that bearing action there, look, yeah, I can feel it. But if you push just a little bit more, it goes right out. But I can do it. You've got to really press in, okay, to get the traction you need. Maybe get out here on the corner here where it transfers from the jimping you'd use on the spine of the blade to the jimping you'd use on the front flipper. And there's a lot of you guys out there that are better at it than me, but I'll see if I can do it one more time for you and a little bit of wrist action at the end. It's too smooth, okay? Here is the Migoranpagos. Look at that. Setup is very similar, okay? Except you've got a square here and you've got a round here. Now the jimping looks almost the same, except this is cut in sharper. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's a little deeper. You see those teeth? And you see how these are kind of rounded over? And it's nicely beveled here, which it won't affect this, and it's a nice thing to have. But so you can almost, these are pretty shallow. They're shallow and they're smooth. So on the Pagos, again, I'm not a front flipper guy, but very easy, right? I can get it every time. I can even slow roll it. See that? So that is something Kizer could improve. And it may have been entirely out of the control of the designer, Paul. He may have asked for, you know, the jimping in the front flipper. And if it were a little sharper, it would work. You guys who are handy with tools, you could possibly use a Dremel and deepen those. And that would create some sharp shoulders. And that would probably do the trick. Whether or not you'd want to risk butchering the knife or not, I mean, it's up to your degree of skill. Okay, measurement time. It is not a small knife. This is an 8 3/4 inch length knife. It is a 3 3/4 inch blade, pretty much right on the nose. Millimeters. Blade stock, fairly thin, 2.7 millimeters. And in inches, 0.11. And across the handle, ooh, 0.47. Very nice and thin. And ergos, by the way, are really nice. Flat handle. Given that Paul's first knife, I'm assuming again that the Clairvoyant was his first knife, was a button lock. This is, he's kind of making the rounds here and doing a bolster frame lock. I didn't turn it on, did I? What do we got? 4.45, 4.45, 4.5 ounces. Not bad. Is it too heavy for you? It's under 5 ounces. It's not bad. Does it have weight relieving? That's an interesting question. What do we got? No weight relieving and no weight relieving. However, look at the thickness of the scales as opposed to the frame. And here's the other thing. Let me grab my magnet. That's titanium. So if it was steel, you'd definitely be even heavier. And you can see that we've got the separation here between the scale and the lock. So when that's pushed up there, it comes up even. And we've got a good lockup of about 30–35%. Definitely perfectly tight, no problems. High flat grind on this knife. And we're going to check it out for sharpness. Okay, it's sharpness time. And here we go. Oh, look at that. Laser blade. Definitely can cut some curly cues there. It's got an edge on it. And you know, if it didn't, it's just a matter of putting it to the strop. That's what I do. And you don't really alter the angle. You don't mess it up. And you define it, you refine it a little bit. Nice ergos, as I said. Oh, crazy drop shot, as I've been saying. I mean, seldom does a knife come through with that drop shot. No adjustment whatsoever. Let's do a compare. Earlier on, I had the Clairvoyant out, which was Paul's first design. And he's probably going to say, yeah, you've been saying it. Yeah, it was my first design. Or no, it wasn't. Didn't you see my first design? Look at that. Just slightly longer than the Clairvoyant. If we even them up. I want to get into Scratch City here. It's about a ½ inch shorter, roughly, on the Clairvoyant. You can feel it, because it feels like a slightly smaller knife. I love the jimping. Now, this jimping, just perfect. If they use this jimping here, especially on that front flipper, we'd be all set. Some of the reasons they smooth this over is that they don't want it to be wearing holes in your pocket, although in your standard carry, that's going to be down into basically space in your pocket. I don't know if you'd pick it up if you put your hand in your pocket, had something down in there and pulled it out or not. Let's talk about the transition. I think somebody, when they saw my video short on YouTube, said this looked like it's sharp. No, it's not. The transition's perfect. You can barely feel that. It's a great job. Same thing here. What you might see, and I don't know if that was evident on the video, was right here. Okay, but that is going to be a thing with bolster locks. It's a little sharp there, and it is protruding. It has to on the bolster lock. In order for the lock to engage, it has to go down and engage. All right, what else have we got on the table here? How about Rat 1? I think we're going to come right in there with the Rat 1. Yeah, it's dead on, I would say, with the Rat 1 for length overall and the length of the blade. 3 3/4. Griptilian's going to come in a little shorter. Yep, by about 3/4 to about 3/4 of an inch, close to an inch. Nice button lock, by the way, if you pick up the Clairvoyant. And I think there is a second edition of the Clairvoyant out there with brass bolsters. It's going to be a little heavier. 4½ ounces. Nice size, 3 3/4 inch blade. almost 9 inches overall, thin handle, ergonomic, very comfortable to hold, number of different positions. You can go point down if you must on this one, although I wouldn't say it's really designed for that. Thin blade stock, slicey, sharp out of the box. Titanium clip, titanium frame lock, really bolster lock. Some really quality materials in here. What I didn't mention, and excuse me, the steel. The steel is Rex45. Oh, let's take a moment and talk about Rex45. According to Knife Steel Compositions, let's see if you can see that. It's a crucible steel. It's powder metallurgy. I believe it is not stain resistant or stainless. And it is crucible high-speed steel with high red hardness. Don't know what red hardness is. I don't know if he meant to say something else. Sometimes the language on Knife Steel Compositions is some spell check issues, misspells, blah, blah, so forth. Here's some of the steels that it is similar to. You can look those up. Great application. You know, if I were to tap that one, it would bring me to that, and you'd get to read about that. But maybe you can find out a little bit more about Rex45. This is the first knife I have in Rex45, although it might be similar to other steels. High hardness. I don't see a Rockwell listed for this, but it could be like 61, 62. You can check that out. Try to cover as much as I can on these reviews, but we'd be spending hours and hours and hours if we broke things way down. So this is an overview, review, give you an idea of the knife, see if you want to pick one up or not. This came from White Mountain Knives, where you can get a 10% discount if you use my code OLDSWORD. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon. Have a good one.